Hello, teacher. How are you?
Oh, good.
Mm. Where are you now? Are you
In Europe.
in Europe? Where in Europe are you at
In
now?
Poland.
Poland. Wow, Poland is pretty close to Ukraine, and
Yes,
Poland
it
is
is.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's now overwhelmed with the immigrant from Ukraine.
Yes.
Yeah. And are you a citizen of Poland?
Yes, I always had been. I was born in Poland.
Mm. How long have you been there now?
1 month.
1 month. How's the situation in Poland nowadays?
Well, it's very complicated, but where I am, all I can see is a lot of migrants, a lot of Ukrainian migrants. They are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're in shops, they're in streets. We don't have refugee camps. What happened is most migrants, if not all, were taken by people into their houses. So basically, the Ukrainian families, largely women with children, but not only, are living in Polish homes. So I trust they get some support from the government of Poland. So yeah, they're happy, safe, and yeah.
Yeah. That sounds sympathetic. So what is the next plan for Poland? Are they going to accept more immigrants?
I think very soon it will be 3 million migrants from Ukraine. So Ukraine has 40 million people. 3 million are in Poland. Some went to Romania. Some went to to Germany, sorry. Some went to UK. Some went to America. I think the wave of migration is not going to stop. More and more people will be coming. I think we can't stop it because they are being bombed. But not only that, the news say that they are also being, that the Russians are perpetrating crimes on them, like rape and God knows what else humans can invent. So it's been horrific. And yeah, the border is open.
Hmm.
It's the idea is, I mean, the problem really is not Ukraine. The problem is to avoid the global conflict, which can emerge from the situation. So myself, I am not a support of Biden. I don't support his policies. I truly believe that had we had a different president, the conflict wouldn't have happened. But I have no proof. The only proof I have that under Trump, we had no new wars. Once Biden came, we had a problem in Israel. We still have a problem in Israel. We have different fights there. Now we have a problem in Ukraine. God knows what else will emerge. Biden is weak. The Democrats are controlled by warmongers. They want war. So as I say it, you can convince me otherwise, but if you don't want war, then you wouldn't have war. And at this very moment, we have problems everywhere.
Yes, exactly. I do agree with you. When Trump was president, it seems like the world was safer. The world was more secure than having the Biden's, because Biden is democratic, and democratic commit a lot of wars around the world, like in Iraq, Syria.
Well,
Yeah.
the Republicans were like this too, but if you actually look critically, this is not about so much Democrats, Republicans, because Biden and Obama are very good friends with George Bush. And the people who support Trump hate Bush. So it's not so much about Republican Democrats. This is now about a worldview, which is the Democrats today stand for global government control, no freedom of speech, internet control, God knows what else. Honestly, from where we sit, it's really hard to tell what the people above us are playing, what game they are playing. Not on the other hand, the people who support Trump, they just want the least interference from the government, minimal. So if people are poor or something, yes, please do assist here and there, but also involve individuals. They want community work. They want churches. Like in Thailand, you can see, I don't know about Cambodia, Cambodia is poor, but they want in America churches to be more involved with money and with human support in providing services for the poor, not just federal support. What happens when churches are involved and individuals on the ground, then you provide them, like with the Ukrainians in Poland, you provide them money, but you also provide them work, you provide them moral support, you are there for them. The poor person is never alone. The Ukrainians are not sitting on the street smoking marijuana in Poland. They are in someone's house. They join the family. They talk together. They're not alone, and they have work. But if you have a situation like the Democrats want, tax the rich, give a lot of money, give money to the homeless. What can a homeless person do with money? They will spend it on alcohol, or they spend it on drugs, because they are outside of the society. They have no way to re-enter. If you don't work for a long time, it's very hard to re-enter the workforce. Really hard. You have nothing, you have no experience, you have very few skills, and so on. So when you have a big government that gives money to the poor, but the support structures are not personal, they top down, then you are isolated as a poor person. Whereas what the Republicans, not Republicans, the supporters of Trump, that's sort of, let's call it MAGA, okay, the MAGA wave. What they want is strong connections in the community to hold these homeless and the poor people, to help them personally. So that's the difference. And you could see, you know, there was this huge propaganda against Trump. But what he was doing, he was coming to Putin, for example, and say, mate, you're my friend. Why would you want to throw bombs on my friends? You know, we're friends. So he was creating these, what we call in Australia, matey discourse. Matey discourse is just between two guys, you know, hey, we're friends, you know, we talk to each other. Why would you want to kill my friends? I will not kill your friends, and you don't kill my friends, right? So what I will do, I will make sure, and I know you are a good guy. You are not you know, the people who are killing my friends on your side, maybe, you know, maybe you have problem controlling them. I will help you control them. You see, so he changes the narrative and he says, I trust you, and the bad guys, I'm sure you don't support them. I will help you. And he was silencing or stopping all these other thugs, hooligans, from hacking the internet, and God knows what they wanted to do. So Trump was very active, but he was producing these discourses which were about friendship. Now what we have everything on the edge of a knife, and we have problems, and Biden being incapable mentally is a great excuse for America not to do much or engage in war. I don't know what they will do. Definitely Poland is worried. And obviously China is supporting Russia. So it's getting very complicated, and whatever happens in America and whatever Ukraine and whatever happens in Ukraine will affect the whole world. Not sure about Africa, but will definitely affect Southeast Asia and definitely will impact on Europe. So, and it may have larger consequences. At this very moment is what we have is inflation, global inflation. There may be food shortages, not enough food. And yeah, we'll see what happens next. So yeah, it's complicated. But the Ukrainian people are safe and happy in Poland at the moment. So that's where it stands. So I believe that today teacher Neary couldn't make it. I understand. So I think she's not with us today. So we will just have a lovely session, just having fun together. One thing that maybe some of you may find a little bit different is that I want this conversation, and I also support us when we check our drafts. So when you do your assessment task 3, we look at your work and we discuss it. That's very much an Australian way, because during this discussion, it is not just you learning from me, but I am learning from you. And what I am learning is how you understand what I teach. And that helps me to change or to understand better my own thinking. So these discussions are very much the mode in Australia. It is expected in Australia that the teacher will have discussions with students so that students' voices come through, and this allows me to reflect critically on my own thinking and on my own ways of teaching. Sorry, just have to move for a second. So yeah, so is anyone, I was thinking today, we might maybe first discuss some issues, and maybe then within the next 10-15 minutes we might look at each other's drafts of your assessment task 3, the presentation, and we might chat about it. And what will also be interesting is to check the topics you will talk about, because presentation as a skill is hard. But it's interesting to discuss it. But most important for me is to check what we think, what issues we want to present about. I think that's interesting too. So would you have any questions from me before we move on to editing assessment task 3? Would you have some questions? I'm still happy to discuss politics or anything, just anything, whether it's about the presentation or some other questions you might have.
So I do have a questions. So in today's session, are you going to ask volunteer to share their draft, or
Yes.
are you going to call out by name and then asking them to share their draft?
Okay, so so in Australia, you do not call the name. So you don't say Voti, Ching Chong, because it's whoever wishes to share. It's that way. So I would like you to volunteer. It's easier for me. So it also means I don't have to point the finger. I don't have to make anybody nervous. I don't want to make anybody nervous. I want us to have fun. And I also want you to feel it is interesting to check and have this discussion, because later on when you are a teacher, hopefully, I'm not sure whether this will happen, but my intention is that you learn a little bit about how text works. And these discussions help us to learn more about how text works. Because when I make this lecture and I teach you skills, then you learn something. But when we have a discussion, it allows us to see more issues in text. And as a result, you learn more about text, how it works, and maybe later on you can translate it into your teaching in schools. At this very moment, as I understand, Cambodian government has a lot of hopes for Cambodia. On the other hand, there are schools, so there is a little bit of a mismatch. But all of this will change, and increasingly, we are all, not just in Cambodia, but everywhere, increasingly, we are not just required, but also increasingly assisted better to produce better education. So it's good to have some more tools, more skills, and hopefully you will use them as a person and also in your schools. So yes, if you could volunteer, I would be very happy. Any other questions?
Yeah, the context between Australia and Cambodia might be different based on my experience from teaching. Students here usually stay quiet until the teacher call out their name. Only then that they answer, the questions.
So when a few weeks ago or months ago, we looked at the structure of the national curriculum of Cambodia, and the national curriculum of Cambodia doesn't support quiet classroom and doesn't support this type of teaching. So the curriculum in Cambodia says one thing, and the culture of classrooms today is a different thing. Now, obviously, through this course, we're not going to change, everything. We're just doing a little bit, and we'll see what's next. I certainly am very interested in helping Cambodian teachers through the Ministry of Education to feel more empowered and more assisted. I understand that Cambodian teachers would like some more impactful or helpful professional development. So I certainly will be engaged in that. So I will follow up after we finish. But at this very moment,
I'm sorry, teacher, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned that it's the culture that students stay quiet. Are you saying because the culture that students don't want to volunteer to answer a question? Is that what you get from the government stated in their report?
No, the government doesn't want it. But what happens, but it's the practice in Cambodia. There are many reasons why the students in Cambodia are quiet, many reasons. But one of them is the method of teaching. So that needs to be looked at in more detail one day, not in this course, not between us, but certainly this needs to be examined, because the method of teaching will determine how students will respond. If a method of teaching is question answer, then people are quiet. But if the method of teaching is students look for information and collaborate to find information, that's different. So when you collaborate together to create a story or to create a presentation, each of you produces their own presentation, assessment task 3, but you work together. then you have a discussion. It's a lively discussion. I think Ania said that. I think I want to do this. I think this is how to do it better, right? You have a discussion. So if a methodology supports collaboration and exploration, then people talk. If a methodology of teaching is about teacher, it's content-centered, and basically teacher knows the answers, and it's a question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, then there is no need for students to explore and have discussions and think. So two different methods in general will produce different behavior in students. So in the case of our course, even if you decide not to talk with me and not to explore, even if you decided to do that, I have a second way to help you talk, which is in your groups you talk, right? So you don't have to talk to me, but when you are producing your assessment tasks, you talk to each other in groups, and that is extremely important because you are not alone. It's important that people are not alone. So whether students or the homeless or whatever we discussed before, it's important you are not alone, that you can talk to other people. And in that way, you polish your thinking. Otherwise, you can go on some strand, you know, in one direction, and you're completely on the wrong track. So when you talk to people, you can check your own thinking. So yeah, so methodology is, or pedagogy is one reason why Cambodian classrooms are quiet. And there could be cultural things too. But pedagogy is the main thing. Okay, would you have some, I will give you some time, guys, to come up with some questions you may have of me. And if you don't have any questions, then we will start with draft. But at this very moment, I still am hoping for some questions to come up. So everybody is very quiet. So
I have a question.
Yeah, great.
But it looks like it's only me who speaks all the time. How about the other guys? Guys, are you guys here? Hello, everyone.
Hello, teacher. Can you hear me?
Yes, Udo.
Yeah, I don't want
yes,
to be
yeah.
the one who speak all the time. Could you please help share some ideas or asking question if you have?
Yes, I have one thing related to our topic, teacher. For our last meeting via Zoom for about last 2 weeks, teacher said that the topic is free, but during our class, teacher Neary assigned us the test in the class in the Google Classroom, and she's minimize the topic just only to write about the learning and experience at NIE. So I think my classmates topic are not really different.
Okay, well, we will go then. Okay, so we will just follow what teacher Neary required, because otherwise it's too much conflict. So yeah, I would have preferred any topic because it's more interesting. But if teacher Neary said that, then we just go with that. Or if you have a presentation that is already on a different topic, then I will talk to teacher Neary and she will accept it, okay? So maybe teacher Neary suggested a topic because being in Cambodia, teacher Neary thought that you may not find it easy to come up with your own topic. You see, when you live in a culture where teacher tells you what to do, then teacher Neary was worried, but maybe you do not have your own initiative. You see what I'm saying? In the culture where teacher teaches, you create a situation where students don't have any initiative. You treat them as what in the West or in Australia is called having no agency. I will type it in the chat. Having no personal agency. Agency, which means capacity to act. Right? So very often teachers worry, but students can't think out a topic. So I suggest that we'll find a middle way. How about this? I suggest we have a middle way. If you have no topic, do as teacher Neary said. But if you have your own topic, follow your own topic. Okay? So I will email teacher Neary today and I will explain to her. If you find your own topic, choose your topic. If you have none, follow teacher Neary's suggestion. Udom, does it help you?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. We already asked her to clarify about that too, teacher, and she said as we wish, but I think most of us already chose the same topic as teacher Neary mentioned in the classroom already.
That's okay. All right. Yeah. I'll tell you why I suggested to have now, because this course is also teaching you about pedagogy, not just about how to read and write in English, but also how to think as a pedagogue, as a teacher. The reason why I chose different topics, I would have preferred different topics, was that I wanted you to think about what the audience will find engaging. Right? Because when I tell you talk about the house, then you just write something about the house. I kill your initiative. But if I ask you to suggest your own topic, then you have to think for yourself, what the heck would the audience find interesting? And that's difficult. And that was part of the difficulty of the task, for you to think for yourselves what the audience would like to hear about. And the reason why it's important to make that guess, right, to reflect on what the audience would find interesting, the reason why it's important is that you are now learning about the audience, not just about yourself, but you're thinking, oh, who are they? Will they like what I want to say? How am I going to say it to engage them better? You are learning real presentation skills, which is to think of the audience, to think about how to make it engaging for them, right? So you're making really communicative guesses or reflections. And it's also your reflections. It's not totally, the process is not taken away totally away from you. Someone is having, okay, anyway.
Sorry,
Chemnan, can you turn off your audio or something, because we can hear more than. All right, so yeah, any more questions?
I don't have questions, but as I was told by teacher Neary that the reason that she said the same topic for everyone was because she wanted to select anyone from the group to present at the fair, because sooner or later, I think maybe next month, next 2 months, we are going to have the fair, the institution fair. So she want to find the one who could produce the best work to represent their group to present at the fair. And
Yeah, but
yeah,
nothing
that's
stops you. But nothing stops you at the fair to say to people, today I'll talk to you about the war in Ukraine, right? Today I'll talk to you about the war in Ukraine. Hopefully, through my talk, you will learn not just about Ukraine, but how well we learned the skill of presentation during our course at the NIE. That's it. So you could talk about grasshopper, you could talk about the conflict in Ukraine, but what you do say in your presentation, that this is not just about the grasshopper, it is not only about the conflict in Ukraine, but hopefully through your presentation, you will demonstrate how much you learned over the last semester at the NIE. See, so it's about how you take it, but we will just go with teacher Neary. Teacher Neary is controlling this course, so we will just go with teacher Neary. But if you produce a different topic, then probably will be accepted too. I will write to teacher Neary, but if you have a different topic, that should be accepted too. So you have some freedom. Some of you may want to write about some different topics, so I will request from her, but she accepts it. I'm sure she will be very willing.
I'm sorry, teacher. I think teacher Neary, she's already accepted us that we can do the free topic. But as my idea, I think that my classmate has already done for this work, and maybe they choose the same topic.
Okay, that's fine. This is not a real problem. So will we check some text? Does anyone have some draft we could look at? We have some very quiet people here, like Samyang. Samyang. Samyang, would you...
Samniang.
Lian, share your topic, please.
Hello, teacher. I just
Hello.
Niang này cô Samniang mà giấy ngặt chìa chẳng tí kênh bắt đấy.
just get up.
Samyang, would you have some text to share with us?
Yeah, teacher, but my computer is not work. I cannot share.
No, it's her excuse, I think.
I submit to the Neary already, but my computer cannot work with Zoom.
Can you see it? Can you read to us the first sentence? Can you read to us just the first sentence? Would you be able to? Just read to us aloud.
The usefulness.
Oh, you know what you can do, Siang? Can you go to chat and copy and paste the text in chat?
Copy from the Google Classroom, teacher.
Yeah, I don't know, from wherever you typed it. Can you paste it in chat?
May I try first?
Just the first sentence, even. Just the first sentence. Is it gonna take long? Oh, wonderful. That's great. Okay, Samyang, can you read it to us now aloud?
Yes, teacher.
As if you were making a presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and teacher. My topic is usefulness for computer for student. Computer is an invention that is made to make work easy. With the introduction of computer, education has invented to new dimension. We cannot deny that computer provide a lot of benefit to students. While the computer can be used for the purpose of education, similarly, it is a popular form of entertainment too. Now it's time to recognize benefit of our computer for students. Our computer is connected to an internet, provides infinite amount of information. Whether it can be research, assignment, or exam preparation, every information regarding to the subject we can presented near our fingertip. Whenever they need, students can access the information and store it inside the computer so that they can refer to their future teacher. Thank you,
Okay,
teacher.
that's enough. That's good enough. That we've heard it. So that's lovely. What guided your process of production of this text, Samyang? What did you use as a guide?
Pardon, teacher.
What did you use as a guide to help you structure this presentation? Every text has a structure.
Nice. So today, let me talk in Khmer with teacher Samniang, lecturer.
Thank you.
Nicole Samniang. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Nicole Samniang. Sờ lọp mắt ở đây.
Bad.
គាត់ចង់សួរថាឡើយអ្នកគ្រូសរសេរ essay ហ្នឹងសរសេរតាមទម្រង់អីហើយអ្នកគ្រូបាន guide ពីណាមកអញ្ចឹងណាគេថាធម្មតា essay យើងស្អីមានជា structure អីច្បាស់លាស់អីចឹងចឹងអ្នកគ្រូដើរតាមណាបានជា reference អីចឹងណាជាស្រ័យប្រហែលជាអ្នកគ្រូយល់ទេដឹង
So one of the reasons why we have this course, one of the reasons is that when I might show you something, okay? Something really funny.
10 million Afghans.
Just something funny. Okay, so I will share the screen. I'm not sure whether it is helpful, but I'm thinking we will do that. So does everybody know what's X factor?
Yeah, I know that. Then this is the funniest audition. I used to watch that.
Okay, so so the funniest auditions, if you look at these people, I'll just play it.
Members at the moment, all posting regularly. Oh yeah, but we've had 8,000 hits on the website.
45 members. How many
45.
Irish smile? I want.
Because we can achieve when you believe. Somehow you will when you believe.
Thank you, Deborah. Was she that good?
Your voice is okay. You've got no star quality about you. There's no charisma.
No charisma.
Yeah, I agree with Sharon. A bit pub singery. It is so way off.
Yeah. Hold on, and there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find a way.
Okay, so you get the idea. What I want to talk to you a little bit about is why are we learning here about the text? I'm not saying that Sian, that this text is written badly. By all means, it's not. But I just want us to get some context. So why are we learning about the text? So when we look at these funny auditions, right, those funniest auditions on X Factor, why do you think these people can't sing? Why do they sing so badly? And most importantly, why do they think they are very good? It's not why they sing badly, but each of those singers was thinking they were really good. Why do you think they are really good?
Well, actually, because they have no charisma, like the judge said, and it's about their personality as well. They have no like talent.
But why do they? But
they...
why do they think themselves that they are very good? That woman was very aggressive towards the judges, right? That one that was told she had no charisma. I just moved past her, but she thought she was excellent. There were each of those singers was thinking they were great. Why do you think they think of themselves that they are great?
I think, well, actually, it's there must be something to do with the personality.
All right, so
Teacher, I think
they have very bad personality.
Yeah,
I think that they are confident with themselves.
Yes, I think that one of the judges said confident is good. They said they are delusional. Delusional, meaning like they have fantasies about themselves. So it's not confident backed by practice, but delusional. Look at me, I'm just the best. So yes, overconfident, maybe not confident, but overconfident, right? So yes, but why do you think they are overconfident? Why do you think they are like that? Why are they like this? It's a tricky question I'm asking. It's really hard to answer it, but anyone else has a guess?
think maybe the lack of education.
Right. So what happens is, I'll just type as I talk. There is a lot. Good singing involves a lot knowledge or knowing. So basically, there is a lot that is happening in a song, and especially in an artistic performance. So there's a lot that is going on in the song, right? There's a tune, there's presentation, there's the feeling, there is the adjustment of the way you present the song with your voice, because depending on your voice, you will present the song differently. So there's a lot happening in the song, a lot. Following this thought is there is a lot happening in a text. There's a lot happening in the text. So what we've been doing all this semester is having a few tools or learning a few tools to help them see how much is happening in the text. So we were asking questions, we were dividing a text into a sequence. We were also looking at the emotional words that people use to generate impact. So we looked at the scientific text, and it was saying this is the first text ever. This is the first experiment of this kind, right? So the author was trying to demonstrate the relevance of this particular experiment and information piece they were creating. So there's a lot happening in the text. So throughout this course, we're learning about tools that help us to detect not everything that is happening in the text, but to reflect on how much is in the text. Now, traditional teaching says to us, the text has grammar and words. No, the text has way more. Why do we choose those words, not other words? Right? The question is, why do you choose those words, not other words? Why do you choose present tense, not past tense? Sometimes you can actually talk about the past in present tense, depending on the impact you want to effect in the audience, right? Depending how you want the audience to receive your text, you choose different words and you choose different, for example, different tense. So if you want to create tension, you say, she's going, she's touching, she's moving, she's seeing, right? So because you want people to be in the action, in the middle of it. But if you want to tell a story from the past and you don't want people to sort of be inside of it, but outside, you say she went, she did this, she moved, she bought, right? So we're learning. So in the course of this subject that we're covering over the last semester, we're learning about what's happening in the text, so that we do not think the text is just words. These singers in the X Factor, they thinking that song is just a song. You know, you can just sing it. So they cannot appreciate Michael Jackson or Dimash or whoever is out there, any singer you like. They can't appreciate them because they don't know, they can't see much in it. And consequently, they think they are as good as Michael Jackson or as good as Whitney Houston. They really do. Because they can't see how much is in the production of a song, how much is presented in Whitney Houston's song, they can't say it. They think if they bang out the song by Whitney Houston, it is as good as if it was Whitney Houston. So if you're blind, you can't see. So the idea of this course was for us to learn some tools to see how much is presented in the text, or how much is happening in the text, so that you are more conscious and therefore you can produce better texts. And another intention of mine was so that you can take some of these tools to classroom, and even with 1 or 2 tools, you can help students to reflect themselves on what's happening in the text, so that they become more conscious users of the text. So
Are you talking about Grammarly?
Well, I didn't teach Grammarly. I'm not happy or unhappy with Grammarly, but I was, throughout this course, we were learning to use some tools that I invented to help us produce better texts and understand better what's happening in the text. So when we have a text like this one produced by Semeng. How do you pronounce the student's name? Sameng? Samniang, thank you. So when we have the text by Samniang, how are we gonna judge it? We cannot say, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really bad. We need to think of we need to have some guidelines and apply these guidelines to see whether the guidelines will help us to judge that or to assess this text. So when you produce your text, you type it, you're happy with it, you use the guidelines and ask yourself, is it good? What should I correct? This is why I asked Samning what guidelines she used to produce this text. Because otherwise, it's just a song, it's just a text. We think it's good, we think it's as good as Michael Jackson, but it's not Michael Jackson, it's nowhere near. Or maybe it's better than Michael Jackson, but you need to have some criteria, some guidelines, some criteria. I'll just type guidelines just in case some of you haven't heard that word. Guidelines, it's the same as criteria for judging. Because it's very good to say, Anya, do you like it? I don't know, I'm applying guidelines. So I'm asking Samning which guidelines she used to assess her own draft or her own assessment task, her own text. So, yeah.
Yeah, teacher, can I share mine?
Just 1 second. I wanted to finish with some Ning, so that she gets an answer or she produces her own answer. So Samning, which guidelines did you use? Did you follow?
It's
Did you say which guidelines did you use, Samning? I'm not hearing. Okay, so can anyone else tell us let's have a look at this text that Sam Niang has written, and what are your views? Do you like it? Would you correct something? What would you suggest Sam Niang should correct? Hok-chan Born-mi, would you make some suggestions? Hok-chan? Hok-chan, are you there?
No, teacher, I don't have anything to share
Right.
to share.
Yes. We have Yen Southie. Would you have any suggestions?
Bong Sophia.
Yeah, teacher, good afternoon. I have anything to say, teacher? No suggestion
All
for me.
right. Okay. So one of the things we agreed on is that every text addresses a problem, right? You produce a text to address a problem. So when you write, when you say hello to someone, your text is a solution to a problem. If you want to ignore someone, you don't say hello. So this is how you solve the problem. You meet someone on the street, you want to ignore that person, you solve the problem by not producing any hello. You don't say hello, right? So you not saying anything is to solve the problem of the relationship you have with this person. You want them to know you hate them, you don't say hello. Now, someone else is coming along and you want to solve the problem of the relationship, right? Every time you encounter someone, you need to solve a problem of the relationship. So you say hello or you don't say hello, right? When you say hello, you say hi. And you say hi, not because it's required, but because you decided that you want to show to this person respect. So you say hello. So every text is a response to a problem. Every text is a response to a problem. Ian, Sophie, what do you think is the problem in the text, in the presentation produced by Sam Niang? What do you think is the problem there?
Yeah, doctor, I just come. I just come, but I didn't listen to her presentation. Right? I just come in the Zoom lecture.
Okay, can anyone suggest where the problem is? What problem is this text, this presentation in the chat? What problem is the presentation addressing?
I have, but I talk too much. Can anybody else share your opinion on that?
Let me share some of my opinion first. I think the problem of Bong Sun Ying's writing is about how computers make life easy now.
Life easier now?
Yes.
Where do you see this? Where do you see it in the text? Where did she say that this is the problem she wants to solve?
The first sentence, she said that computer is an invention that is made to make work easy. And another one, she said it's time to recognize benefit of computer.
Okay, so where in the text of the presentation, where in the text do we signal the problem?
For the first one, setting the focus.
They're very connected, right? They're very much connected. And I think that Sam Niang has done it well. She introduced the problem, right? That's the focus. Very good. Very, very good, Udom. She introduced the problem, which is the computers had been accepted by society because they do make our life easier. But our life, it means my life, your life, my mother's life, my child's life, my neighbor's life. So what she did then do, she narrowed that down in the second stage, which is now I will talk to you about how computers can help students. She didn't qualify whether she meant school students or university students. I would have qualified it, but it's okay. So basically, now I will tell you how computers can help us, can help students in their journey in schools, or in how computers can help students in schools or students. I agree with you. That's the problem. But anyone else has any ideas? Why does she want to talk about it? Why did she tell us why she picked that issue? Why should the audience hear about computers in schools or computers for students? Don't take it for granted that just because something you think is interesting, the other person also thinks it's interesting. So just because, so to come back to the metaphor of the X Factor singers, just because you think you're great, it doesn't mean that actually you are great, right? You need to convince the audience that you are great. You need to convince them. So you convince them by learning about your skills to improve them so that the audience can appreciate you. But to appreciate you, you have to get better. So while the problem is relatively well stated, now I will tell you about how computers make the life of a student better or easier or better. Good. I'm happy with that. So I'm glad to say it. And I'm not sure because Sam Niang didn't say, but she used my guidelines. So I'm not sure whether she used my guidelines or any guidelines. So it's important to say it. You need to defend your structure of your text. You need to say why you need to know why you created the text the way you did, so that you don't sound naive or unprofessional, uneducated, if you will. So I'm happy with the problem statement. Now I will tell you about, so first she set the scene. Computers have made our lives easier. And I like the idea, right? How she went about it, it's fine. And then she says, now I will tell you how computers can make or do make the life of a student easier. But did she say why she wants to tell us about it?
May not.
Right, I think she didn't. Let's have a look. The next sentence, after she says, now it is time to recognize the benefits of our computers for students, right? So that's good, good break, right? So first she talks about computers being great, blah, 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 very nice. And then she creates a break in the text, which is now we're moving to disturbance, which is pointing to the problem we want to solve. And she says, now it's time to recognize the benefits of our computers for students. Great. Why? I tell you why. I just wait. So then she says, a computer which is connected to the internet does this. Okay, and then the computer does this, and then the computer does this, and the computer does this. Which stage is that of a presentation? When you say computers do this, computers do this, computers do this. So which stage of the presentation is it, of a text?
It's in the body, supporting ideas.
So it's development, right? So it's the stage of development. I'm not sure whether everybody is on the same page with me. I can't repeat 6 months of teaching once again. So what we have focus, then we have disturbance, which is the problem. Then we have something else, and then we have development. And from the development, we have resolution. So as a result, it appears that this and this is great. And then we have the moral, right? Do this and you will be, it is best to do this if you want to achieve this. So that's the moral. It's the content of the moral. It's best to do this. But after disturbance, when Samyang, sorry if I continue mispronouncing your name, I have to hear it a few times. Now it is time to recognize the benefits of computers for students. Great. Why? So if you can recall, I'll just share the screen. If you can recall what so what did Steve Jobs do? He said, now I will talk to you about what Apple, how Apple has reinvented the phone. Here it is, the problem, the disturbance. So basically, Steve Jobs is indicating, so first he says whatever he says, you know, this presentation is about blah, blah, blah. Then he says, well, now I'll show you our answer to the problem. I'll show you the answer. And then he says, these are the things I will be talking about. Right? So what he does, he justifies the problem, which is how Apple has reinvented the phone. He now justifies this in terms of points. What he says, these are the things that needed changing in the phone, and I will talk about those. These are the things, it's a dialogue. Dialogue is about perspectives on the problem. These are the things that needed changing. Steve Jobs is practically saying, and I will talk about those things. So he says, Apple has changed the phone. Then he moves to dialogue, which is perspectives on the problem. These are the things that needed changing about the phone, and I will talk about those. What we needed to hear, I think, I'll just stop sharing now. What I would have liked to see, when we cannot deny, where was it? Now it is time to recognize benefits. What needed to follow, I'm just making it fast so it doesn't drag too long. What needed to say is a connection between how wonderful computers are and how wonderful they can be for students. What we needed to say is these aspects, like what we have in introduction. What did she say in the setting focus? Benefits, yeah, not much is actually said. There needed to be a little bit more, but you know, we can live with this. But we can say from the perspective of supporting individual, some values needed to be stated. What is education standing for that computer can make it easier? So I will talk to you about these points. Right? So you say, so when you said now it is time to recognize the benefits of our computers for students, I will talk about it in terms of the following values that education stands for. Flexibility, individualization, access to information, I don't know, whatever. You know, exploration, I don't remember what I said before, but something like that, right? So you have to come up with 3 or 4 values of education. Collaboration, right? So you come up with 3 or 4 values and you say, it is time to recognize the benefits. I will talk to you about those benefits in relation to the 4 or 5 core values of modern education systems: flexibility, individualization, exploration. What else is that? Collaboration, right? Did I say access to materials, free access to materials? So you mentioned those 5 or 4 or 3 values. So you need to look into your books of pedagogy. Come up with those values and now say, introduce audience and say, now I will talk about those in relation to computers, how they help students to learn better. And then you say, in terms of flexibility, this means this is what computers do, this is what students can do with computers to have greater flexibility. Right, so flexibility, you can talk to me synchronously like we talked today, but some of you are not here. I am recording this class so that you can access the recording later, or you can re-listen to it again. It's called flexibility. So it's not here. So what basically is happening, and I'm very grateful for this draft. We are learning together to produce things better. And I might have not made it very clear when we were talking 2 weeks ago. So it's not just some young that she missed this point, but it could also be it's new. And I might have not given enough attention to it. But once you signal the problem, then you draw on something that is important. You identify what's important and you say, I will talk for this problem, for this issue, computers and education and students. You identify these values and you say, and I will talk to you about each of those criteria or values or points that characterize modern education systems. Now the audience know what will happen. So they listen to you and they have a structure in their head, right? So that's good. I wanted to when you listen to good songs, right, you will notice that good singers indicate with their hands what will happen next. So I listened to Dimash. I don't know whether you know the guy, but his name is Dimash. So what he does when he wants to increase volume, he does this and changes his posture and signals to the audience with his hands and posture. Now I will be loud, really loud, because it's a finale of a song. So he does it when he sings. When we produce a text, we need to do it with words, right? So that phase, that stage of dialogue was missing here. So consequently, the text just goes on, blah, 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 but the audience doesn't know what to look for. So you don't help the audience to identify the key points. What's the key point? What's the key point? What's the key point? And when you don't help the audience identify the key points, they get lost, they get tired, and they fall asleep. Right? So it's not a presentation, it's just basically going on and on and on and on with whatever pops into your head. It is a presentation about education. It should draw on the curriculum. It should draw on modern values. It should draw on something. And that should happen in stage 3. Stage 3 is dialogue. I would also suggest that we choose words which are emotional. You should talk about modern education to wake up the audience. When you say education, they think of monks, they think of the family, they think about nothing, they think about their home, their education when they were little. Many of them were not educated, so they think of nothing. When you say modern education systems, you are using emotional words because it's modern. And now they wake up, oh my God, we're going to learn something about change, right? So you need to choose words that have emotional impact. Modern education system, I will indicate to you what matters to modern education systems. These are the things that matter today. Globally, say globally, right? So they go like, oh my God, so it's not just in Cambodia, it's everywhere. In America, oh my God, must be in America too when she says globally. So they're really awake, right? So say, what matters to modern education systems globally? And they go like, oh my God, our students are so, our NIE students, our presenters, so hot. She knows what matters not only to modern education systems. Just wait, my friends. Sorry, I've got my mother here. Sorry, I've got my mother here and she's 91 and I just have to help her. So anyway, so modern education globally, you look hot and the audience is really awake. They are ready to learn from you. Okay, so Samian, did you learn something from this discussion? All right. So I think that David wanted to share his text. David, do you want to share your text?
Yes, I do. I hope that my tech is okay.
Okay, so how do you want to share it? Share the PowerPoint or you want to share?
Okay, I'm going to, not a PowerPoint, it's something else. I'm going to share screen through a Word docs, Word document. Wait, hang on a second. Actually, my name is Annie.
Annie?
Yeah, Annie.
Okay, thank you.
I just play with name. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I do. Does everyone else? Okay, so can you read the first?
Okay. Passing exam to study at National Institute of Education is a big success, a dream, and a long-suffering journey. I feel blessed that I was given this opportunity to help save the devastated educational system in Cambodia. For 7 months of training, I have learned both good and unfavorable things. Since the very first day of the course, I have absorbed a great deal of knowledge related to teaching methodology from the lecturers. They are knowledgeable, responsive, and helpful. They brought newly invented teaching strategies and approaches to class. For example, how I can teach a class with mixed ability students and how to cope with very large class size. This really helped me out when I went to teach students at high school last 2 months. I applied them in classes and they were very effective. Moreover, I have learned that teamwork plays a significant role in bringing success and satisfied results.
Okay, so that's enough. Ani, it's enough. Can you, I can see your text because I can see the paragraph. So I will show you how I read. I read the first paragraph, passing exam, then I read since the very first day, then I read moreover, then I read apart from this experience, right? So I can look at that, we will discuss it in detail.
Oh, all right, I will move down so that you can see the whole essay.
All right, so it goes on and on. Can you now give us your views on your own text?
Well, actually, I wrote this essay based on the guideline and learned before. So I start with the general statement and then thesis statement. That's how essay work. So from here, from passing exam to Cambodia is called general idea, where I talk in general, and then I narrow down to the things that I will focus later on. So which is the last one here. This is the topic that I'm going to talk about, which we call in essay thesis statement. And then I start develop the body. I start to give evidence why I said that I learn both good things and unfavorable things.
Okay,
what are those good things?
Okay, so we'll stop here. We will invite now students to comment. We've got some nice people here that I haven't seen yet. Song Sron. Are you there, friend?
Yes, teacher, I'm here.
Yeah, so when we're looking at Ani's text, what are your views on that?
Okay, so I would like to be a part, okay, from this text. So he states about that mean the problem, and then he mentioned
What's the problem?
about
what is the problem?
The problem is that he learned both both sides. I mean both good and unfavorable things. He mentioned in detail in
What are they? What are they? What are those unfavorable things?
Okay, in the body of the essay, like Sinabori, the first day he course and a great deal of the knowledge related to the teaching methodology from the teacher. And moreover, it is a contrasting idea, like in favorable things, like he feel maybe disappointed. Okay, I think that it is my own opinions about this text.
Okay, so thank you for that. Where is the dialogue section in this text? Dialogue otherwise is, okay, anyway, where is the dialogue stage in this text? How is the, if there are favorable and unfavorable things, how is the audience prepared about what matters? Because what in the second paragraph, what Ania is talking about, he says about things like mixed ability. Why is he mentioning mixed ability? Who cares? Then he's talking about coping with large class sizes. Who cares? And then he's talking about this third paragraph. He's talking about, I don't know, what is he talking about? I don't know, English is, we're working in groups. Just stop. We're working in groups. I just have to find it. To discuss problem in respect for now. Sometimes our ideas, I don't know where it comes from. I really don't know why this paragraph is third paragraph, really don't know. So the thing is, if you can go to the top now, Arnie, what I wanted to find out is, why the heck are you talking about mixed ability students?
Well,
well, you didn't say it.
Well, it's mixed ability students is well. Let me read out this again so that I can have idea to answer your questions. It's very expensive. Okay. All right. So I use the example. This is a part of example that I use to support my claim. So here they brought newly invented teaching strategies and approaches to class. So the strategy and approaches that the teacher taught me is how I can teach a class with mixed ability students and how to cope with very large class size. So it's about strategy, how we can cope with very large class size and mixed ability students. So these are used to support here.
Okay, but the problem is, sorry, I had to walk away for a second because I've got my mother here. The problem is, why did you come up with mixed ability? I just don't understand that.
Well, like I told you a moment ago, it's about strategy, how to deal with mixed abilities.
But why mixed ability? Why did you come up with? I mean, you could have talked about COVID. You could have talked about using computers. Why did you pick mixed ability?
Well, because it's happened a lot in classes in Cambodia. Yeah.
Well, do you think it's not happening in classes in Australia?
Well, it does. Yeah. Well, actually, I can add more related to this. I can add like how we can use technology to teach students. I can add more to support the claim I raised about if I want, but I just want to limit my my example to this only, not too much, so that I can start another paragraph, because
so I get it.
I can talk something else.
I get it, Annie. So basically what I will do now, I will ask other students to help us sort of in this discussion for us to learn. So what everyone else is saying? What is everyone else saying? Any perspectives?
Ô này Dương, mày ơi, mày má mày chui trình cho bọn lính mới học chóc.
Do you want to focus on the the first paragraph body within mixed ability students?
Yeah, I want someone from our group to help to contribute to the discussion. Why did we come up with mixed ability students here? I mean, we could. Okay, so let me ask again. Why not computers? Why didn't Arnie talk about computers? Who could have talked about computers? Could have talked about online learning. Why mixed abilities? See, we're discussing now the structure of the structure of the text, right? We're discussing how to structure text. Where do we pull out things from? Where did Arnie get the mixed ability from? Why this? Why focus on that? Let me suggest, okay, who was the person that we were, Samyang? Samyang, I can't pronounce his name yet very well. Everyone can correct me. Samyang, what do you think? We've discussed your text. What are your views now?
I have no idea.
Right. So when we were discussing Samyang's text, right, what we said with her, that she wrote about computers for students, which is good problem. But what she did not outline, just wait, I'm very sorry, Franz. So Samyang spoke about a noble cause, which is a noble issue, important issue, computers and students. But what she didn't say is in terms of what criteria she will talk about. She went on and on and on and on and on, but didn't prepare the audience. Didn't say, I'll talk about this, this, and this. Didn't say what justifies these things. So she didn't say, so when she said computers are important in life, she didn't say then when she stated the problem, I will talk to you about the benefits for the students. What she didn't do, she didn't justify the criteria in terms she will talk about computer benefits for students. She didn't say it. She didn't draw on the curriculum. She didn't draw on the literature that says modern education has to be flexible, care for collaboration, as well as for individualization, for random access to information, right? To support agency and thinking. None of that was there. So the audience was not prepared. The dialogue stage, where you tell people the criteria in terms of which you will talk about your topic, the criteria in terms of which you will talk about your problem. She did not say them. And she also didn't say why those criteria. So the dialogic aspect of a presentation was missing. And it's the same happening here. I learned about the good and I learned about the bad. Define what's good in terms of modern education. And then you will say, I will talk about issues that matter to support agency, student participation, which is the agency. I will talk about, so agency, mixed abilities, actually, so agency, individualization matters, and also the capacity to cater for individual needs. So let's say 3. These are core values of modern education, because we want to work with the student. We do not want just answer question, ask question and answer question method of teaching. We want teaching that supports student agency and their participation, informed participation in Cambodian society. Right, so you've got all these statements from the curriculum, and with those values and statements from the curriculum, you identify 3 or 4 of them, and you say, I will discuss my experiences at NIE in relation to these values that come from Cambodian curriculum and our policy papers about what makes good teaching. If you do that, had you identified those values, then mixed ability is part of individualization. Coping with large classes is about differentiation or student participation, right? So you need to put those mixed ability and large classes under criteria that come from the curriculum, from the state policy statements. What we want critical participants. We want individualization, and we want student agency. So mixed ability, it's all about differentiation. Individualization is about engaging the student. We want engaging classes, not someone sitting in the corner and sleeping. So you have to, between the first and second paragraph, you needed the dialogue, which is a stage where you identify from the curriculum and policy statements the values, and you prepare the audience, and you say, and I will discuss my experiences at NIE in relation to these values. And then you can talk. Individualization means mixed ability. Large classes means differentiation, right? The issue of different large classes present teachers with a difficulty to address individualization, because a teacher doesn't have enough time to have contact with every student. And that's a problem, because then we're not actually providing education for all. We're providing minimal education, not being able to reach every child. So there is a paragraph missing between the first and second, where you draw on policies and where you clearly state how your presentation therefore will develop. Otherwise, you get what you have: good introduction, and then you go to sort of development, where you say, this is what happened, 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 but we cannot tie it up to any values. There is no curriculum here. There are no policies here, right? So we don't know why you're talking to about mixed ability students. Why are you addressing large class size? You may think you know. You may think they know, but this needs to be made visible in your presentation, so it's clear and the audience knows you know. Because here, I don't know you know. So when I'm as an international educator, I look at this and I'm thinking, like, where did you get these things from? Where do they? I'm not learning anything about Cambodia here. I don't hear anything about policies. I don't hear anything about what Cambodian national education values. I'm surprised. I don't really know what will be happening in the third paragraph. I don't know what you will talk about in the fourth paragraph. I don't know what you will talk about in the fifth paragraph because you didn't say it. If I may point, and Ania, do you agree with me? Do you understand my point? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would accept your advice. I can make change to this. I should have, you know, include something which is not based more on opinion, or I should add something which reflects the context of Cambodia rather than something usually happen in general, which I think when doing this might not capture somebody's attention at all. Yeah, like one phrase that you mentioned, and it's really arose my interest. That's really that I'm interested in is it does not show you or tell you the context of Cambodia, and that's the issue that is happening in general, and you already know. And yeah, I do agree with your recommendation. Thank you.
Preparing the audience is very important so they don't get overwhelmed. You know your presentation, so you know what you will talk about. They don't know your presentation. And when you say mixed ability, large class, this, that, after about 2 or 3 of them, they get overwhelmed and they don't understand, they don't know where to stick it. Why you are talking about those. Trust me, everybody else other than you will wonder why. Everybody here was wondering why you talk about those things. They may not be conscious of it, but they were inside of them. Nobody knew what you will talk about in the third paragraph. You came up with those mixed ability and large class. You didn't say anything about them. You didn't say whether you learned favorable things or unfavorable. What favorable did you learn? You are scared of saying negative things, but you also don't say positive things. That's right. So you didn't say what was so positive about the mixed ability students that you have learned. You didn't say what unfavorable you learned about the mixed ability students. You said nothing.
Well, actually, I divided into 2 parts. The first part, the first 4 paragraphs, I talk about positive experience. And then the next 4 paragraphs, I started developing the negative experience, and you will see that later.
Okay, so it's not very clear. So that's why nobody knew that you would be developing. Can you show us?
So let me confirm you again that I start developing. I developed 4 paragraphs to support the statement I stated here. Good things. So this is about positive thing, about positive thing, positive, and then I contrast. I start to make a contrasting paragraph, starting from the 5th. From the not the 5th, the 6th one. Yeah, here. Despite having learned many good things, there are things that do not satisfy me. One of this is the learning environment where there are mixed ability students. Having said that, does not mean that I am the best. Yet imagine when you work in pair and the partner you work with does not even understand a thing when you speak. How do you feel and proceed to work the assigned task? Do you just work alone and let your partner get benefits without doing anything? Yeah, and then I start another negative experience. 2 other things that I have learned to adapt are the hot weather and the background noise from the nearby construction work and traffic. At times, when the sun is overhead at noon, the temperature is very scorching. There is no air conditioner and everyone uses hand fan to make them cool. Some days when the cranes lift things up and the construction workers start piling work, they created a lot of disturbing noise.
Let me interrupt. everybody should feel that this paragraph came from nowhere. Right? It's why you're talking about your personal experience of the ambience, room ambience. So none of that was in the beginning. What I suggest, and I was teaching.
I'm sorry.
But it's very
teacher,
important. Just wait. Room ambience is extremely important, but you didn't prepare us for that right at the start, right? So what you will say, and I will, favorable and unfavorable things, you can say, I will discuss them now, one by one. I will contrast the positive with the negative. I will discuss them in relation to these important aspects of teaching. And then you will go one by one, and you can, and one of those values could be room ambience. So when you, in the beginning, introduce audience to your talk about the values like individualization, student participation, and access to information, and also room ambience. Put it there, it's important. Or you can say, when you talk about individualization and so on, you can somewhere there say, when you talk about individualization, class size as well, which is differentiation, what you can say, however, all this, as I was trying to control, was made harder by, what's the word to use, by unfavorable room ambience that I've encountered in my schools. That's critical. You can't work when everybody is, having the fan on, running around, sweating, not, when you have noise everywhere. You can't. It is impossible. So I think you did everything. This was a draft. You've got everything. You've got everything you needed to have in the presentation. But if you now think of the audience and you need to prepare them, then you produce a paragraph between the first and the second, which is where you lay out the structure, and then you follow that layout. Now I'll talk about this. So you do have good points. So I give it to you as we read, I see them, but they needed to be organized in a way that audience is prepared. So do not give up on classroom ambience, extremely important, but it needed to be connected with something. Rather than just the next one and the next one. What's more? You see, what you have is what's more. Last but not least, you do not say in relation to individualization, in relation to class size, in relation to this value. This was my experience, right? So presentation needs to begin, a paragraph has to begin with the criterion, specific criterion you are addressing. So stating focus, first paragraph, good. Disturbance, what I will talk about, which is I will address in my presentation, I will now address my experiences as a pre-service teacher, or my experiences at the NIE from the perspective of the values that are reflected in our national Cambodian policies. These are, specifically, I will talk about this, and this. Third paragraph, or fourth paragraph, in relation to individualization, and then you talk in relation to something, in relation to that. Now, somewhere, one of those values could be teacher professional standards. Right, teacher professional, and teacher professional standards are very important. I learned a lot about them. However, one difficulty that I experienced is that knowing the standards is one thing. Implementing the standards is made more difficult when the class ambience or classroom ambience is difficult for everybody. We have no air conditioning. We have large class sizes, we have noise, we have to open the windows, there's construction noise. Teacher standards are great, but as you can see, my work was made impossible when considering the ambience of the classroom. You need to say it. And that's great, and that's powerful. So when one day you as a future teacher will go to a conference, if you want to be meaningless, you can just play politics and say, well, all good. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I had some issues. But if you want to be meaningful, powerful, and a leader, and you are a young person, Cambodia needs young leaders today, then you need to go to the second paragraph, insert a second paragraph that mention the policies, mention the criteria that you specifically in this presentation will address. And then each paragraph starts with the name of the criterion in terms of student individualization, in terms of differentiation, in terms of whatever else is there, and you discuss. And then you say everything about differentiation, the positive and the negative. When you talk about student participation, in that paragraph, you talk about the positives, and then you talk about the negatives. So the positive and negatives are not positives on the first page and negatives on the second page. It's very hard to follow. The positives and negatives are discussed in relation to the subject of the paragraph, which is the criterion that matters. Individualization, differentiation, access to information. Did we have computers? Did we have textbooks, right? So under access to information, you talk about the positives and then you talk about negatives, right? So that's how to talk. Also, that's how to write, but mainly that's how to present information so that people find it. You need to help the audience to remember your text. Otherwise, they get lost. That's a lot of text, but positives were on page 1, negatives on page 2. By the time you hit page 2, they can't remember page 1. Stress and finance, you talk about here. Last but not least, I have learned to cope with stress and finance. Where would we put it? Under what? Teacher professional standards, right? Teacher professional standards require from us this and this and that. The positive is, I learned about this and this and this, and specifically, I learned it's this way. Put some specifics. Specifically, I learned about coping with stress and finance in the following ways. The negative was, the teacher professional standards require from us quality of performance. This is not made easy by classroom ambience, right? So that. So you differentiate between pedagogy, which is differentiation, individualization, collaboration, computers, and also professional standards. Because pedagogy, like differentiation, is one aspect. But teacher standards require you to do these good things. But when you discuss teacher professional standards, you talk about how you learned to apply them, but also how you learned that applying those standards, sometimes it's impossible. And you have to talk about the negatives here. So it might be too much. It's also probably the first time you hear these things. So it's a lot of learning at first, but it's important to learn how to structure your presentations and later on maybe your other text, but especially the presentation. Policies must be present. Every paragraph must refer to a particular aspect of policy. And when you refer to a particular aspect of policy, you put the positives and then you put the negatives, right? Positives and negatives are not divided by pages, but positives and negatives are connected together by the topic of the policy, of the criterion that you want to talk about now in this paragraph. So what we are learning now That presentation is not just talk, 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 talk. It's not just putting things, that organization of a presentation is important. And the biggest concern of oral presentation is to ensure that the audience can remember what you're talking about and can relate it to something. So they can relate maybe to the culture of Cambodia, they can relate it to their own values, or they relate it to what the Cambodian national policies are today about education. Because all these issues that you talked about didn't come out from your head. They came out from policies, right? Policies are talking about that we want a bit more individualized practice, a bit more collaborative, a bit more participatory. Oh yeah, you want that? In the classroom where I can't even breathe? Right, so you discuss pedagogy, blah, 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 but then you talk about professional standards and you say professional, because you will signal in second paragraph, I also talk about professional standards and you say, well, professional standards, very important. They have several criteria, pedagogy is part of it, but what makes them difficult to implement is classroom ambience. Nobody can work in 40-degree classrooms with construction noise coming from outside. All right, so we might stop. If you have some questions, we will follow up now, but we might have a look whether another student had some other text, has some other text for us to discuss. But Ania, are you okay so far?
Yeah, I'm okay. Lecture, I do accept what you said, but what I follow was what I wrote was I follow from what I learned, and I learned that there is two structure of writing. One is block organization, and another is chain organization. In block organization, you can just talk about causes, and then you when you finish the first or three paragraph talking about the causes, then you can start with the 2 or 3 paragraph talking about effects. And another type of I say writing is chain organization, where you start with the cause and then you start with effects. Like the negative and the positive stay together in the same paragraph, and then you go with another paragraph that.
Okay, so what were the causes? What were the causes in your? What was the? Can you mention one cause in your presentation?
Yeah, this is well, this I cannot point out that the cause here, but I think it's about good and bad things. So I would
okay,
say,
but okay, so let me say to you something. When the Germans were killing the Jews during the World War, was that a good thing or a bad thing? Favorable or unfavorable?
Yeah, that's unfavorable.
To you. But in terms of German policies and German values from 1938 or 33, that was a favorable thing. That was a good thing. So what I wanted to point out is what's favorable and what's not favorable is very much linked to our values. And these values were not mentioned here. This is why when you talk about good and bad, we don't really know what you're talking about and why mixed ability is a good thing or bad thing. We don't know. So that's why there is a paragraph missing about policies. What do policies say to us but we need to take into consideration. You could have gotten them from inside of teacher professional standards. They talk about differentiation, collaboration, and all of that. But anyway, the cause is inside of our policies, what our policies see as a good thing. And unfavorable will be the circumstances that prevent us from addressing policies. So favorable are policies. So what's favorable is deduced either from policies or from your religion, right? You need to say it. What do I see as favorable? Favorable should be these values which are in national policies of Cambodia or in Buddhism. I don't care. You need to name the source of your values. It's not there. So in some way, you don't have causes. Our values change, which is great because we as society change and hopefully we improve sooner or later. So while I do appreciate your presentation, I still think it's a draft. The causes and then effects. What's the cause? Usually the cause is the policy. The policy is the cause. The policy wants us to do this, this, and that. So that's the cause. And now I'll tell you about the effects. In relation to this cause, the effect was as follows. In relation to this cause, the effect was as follows. Right? So your causes have to come from somewhere. Make your pick. Policies, Buddhism, I don't know. But the causes need to be mentioned and their source. So, yeah. All right. Does anyone else? I'm not sure how much more time we have, but can anyone else quickly share a little bit of their presentation?
Excuse me, teacher. The time is up. Everyone's left. Could you?
Okay. All right.
Could we end it now and discuss that next week? Do we have online?
Yeah.
Do we have online meeting tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, not tomorrow. We have a meeting next week, right?
I don't know.
I will discuss with teacher Neary. I will discuss with teacher Neary. Okay. So we will close for today. I want to thank everybody for being so brave to share. I want to thank Ania, and I also want to thank a student, but I cannot pronounce her name. I can't remember. Sam Niang, for your courage to share with us your text so that we were able to actually have a very fruitful discussion. So
she left already.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I will place the recording of our class on our website and also place the link in the Telegram. Thank you very much. And if
yes, teacher, thank you very much. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.